Hey, what's up, everybody? It's James here. I want to talk about something else that is really helpful when it comes to socializing. And this is a technique called the 1-2 punch. Well, it basically means making a comment on what someone said first and then asking a question. Okay, picture yourself in a typical social situation. They're talking about something that they find is really interesting. Let's say they're talking about their new RV that they got. Okay, so you're not really into RVs, and so you have no idea what to say. So what do? This is the one part of the 1-2 punch. Now, it doesn't matter what you say as long as it's a kind response. Try to think of something that you have in common with that and then respond with that. For example, say you like camping, you can just then say, I love to camp. If you can't off the bat think of anything in common to say, then just say, oh, that sounds interesting, or that sounds fun, or that sounds wonderful. These connect as filler statements that will let the other person know that you're interested in continuing the conversation. Now, in this second part, the question, try to follow up with some kind of question to ask to make the person talk more about what they're talking about. And this is an important part because it will make the person continue to enjoy what they're talking about because everybody loves talking about things that they're interested in. So, following up with a question is an excellent way. So, then you could say, have you ever taken your kids out with the RV? How far have you taken your RV? Or where do you like to camp? Then the person will talk some more, and then you can follow up with more 1-2 punches. What's so amazing about this social tip is that you can literally go through an entire conversation with just a response and then a follow up question, this 1-2 punch thing. And furthermore, this technique is really easy to use. It's much easier than other kind of tools where it requires more thinking. You can literally think of a response and a question right off the cuff, even if it's a topic you don't know much about. And this is one of those social techniques that's good to even think of responses in advance, which is something that we love to do. That's wonderful. Oh, that's great. Well, that's interesting. You can even say just cool. You can think of follow up questions in advance like, when did you start getting into this? How long have you been doing this? Was this hard to learn? So, what do you enjoy most about this hobby? As an autistic person, I know we love examples, so I'm going to come up with some more examples here. Let's say you're starting a conversation. Imagine you're at work and you're walking by a coworker and they say, "Hey, how you doing?" If you don't want to talk to that person, you could just simply say, "I'm doing good," and then move your head and look forward to cue the person politely that you're happy that they said hi, but you don't really want to talk right now. But let's say you do want to talk to the person and start a conversation. Now, you don't have to make it complicated. The 1-2 punch makes it simple. You can just simply respond and say, I'm doing great. And then follow up with a question and say, how are you doing? I know this example might sound super boring so far, even for small talk, but hear me out. Now, if you want, you can respond again and say, that's great. Then you can respond by a question like, how's your day going? Or, has it been busy today? Or, where did you get that cool shirt? Or, the weather's nice, isn't it? The weather's awful today, isn't it? Then the other person could say, yeah, the weather has been great, hasn't it? And then you could say, yeah, the weather is nice. Do you have any plans when you get home? And then the person could say, no, I'm going to stay home. I'm probably going to watch some Netflix. And then you could say, yeah, I enjoy watching Netflix on rainy days like this too, because my yard usually floods. And you can't go outside to enjoy the nice weather anyway. And then you can ask, does your yard flood around here on rainy days like this? Well, even as a household neatnik who spends 8 times a week working on my yard still floods, even with the most slightest amount of rain in South Carolina. And then you can say, yeah, I put a sump pump in my house. Did you have to have a sump pump put in your yard? And then she could say, yeah, I put one in too. And then you could say, smart move, because when I don't have frogs in my yard. That's actually true, by the way. Now, obviously, you don't have to say that, but you get the drift. Try to keep it in lines of what's appropriate and what the person's interested in. And with this 1-2 punch technique, this makes it so much easier. And what's great, this 1-2 punch technique can work with small talk, even with deeper conversations. Eventually, your conversation will lead to more deeper topics, but the 1-2 punch technique can still work. Now, let's say the person that you're talking to is forcing a topic you don't really want to talk about, such as he brings up sports. Well, you can use the 1-2 technique to steer the conversation away into a different topic. Now, let's say the person randomly brings up the Steelers beat the Packers by 30-2. So, what do you do in this situation? Well, again, acknowledge. Try not to say a negative response like, dang, that sucks. Instead, say, wow, that sounds like a really good game. Just be on their team since you don't know much about it and you're interested in talking to this person. So that way they could be interested in continuing the conversation with you. So come up with a simple response that cheers for your team, like, that was great. That sounds really good. But then politely divert the topic with a follow up question. Did you watch the ball drop last night? Or better yet, did you go to any fun New Year's Eve parties last night? Or you can say, that sounds like a good game. However, I was watching the new season of such and such. Do you watch the TV show such and such? Then if they say yes, you're golden. You can conversate for the next hour. But even if you didn't have much in common, the 1-2 punch technique will make things a lot easier. So what's great about this technique is the follow-up comments keep you engaged, while the questions will keep the other person engaged and keep the conversation going. Well, I hope this tip was helpful, and thank you for watching. Have a good day. If you liked this video and found it helpful, I'm sure you'll also like the video "Here's a Game Changer for Socializing" on the video link below.